Hey, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of 612 Talk with myself, Dave McElroy, and my amazing, intelligent, wonderful human being, Jennifer Benign, and our special guest, Tashie George, who is the founder of Opry. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Yes, and we're about to listen a little bit about your story. You know, what makes you tick, and what's your origin, the whole 10 yards. So Tashie, I'm going to turn this over to you, or Jen, I'll turn it over to you, and you can turn it over to Tashie. How's that sound?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. We're excited to have all of you back with us for our third episode here. So honored to have Tashie with us today. She's an amazing powerhouse in the entrepreneurial world. But as with many of us, she has some really great stories. She's come here today to share with us and hopefully give some advice to the rest of you. So let's let Tashie tell us a little bit more about you, like you as the person, and like where your background is, where you come from. Let's give our listeners a little insight into who you are.
Sure. Thanks, Dave and Jen, for having me on the show. I'm honored to be here chatting with you guys today, so I appreciate the opportunity. For those that are listening, my name is Tashie George. I currently reside in Plymouth, Minnesota. I was born in a little country in Africa called Liberia, which has a unique connection to the United States because that was the first country from where the free slaves settled in Africa. So that was the first independent country. So there's like the unique little connection there. I grew up in New York, actually. So I grew up I went to high school, college, everything in New York. I grew up in a town called Greenburgh, New York. It's so small that we couldn't find ourselves on the map. So White Plains is right next door. So everybody would say White Plains, but I grew up in Greenburgh, New York. And then I shared spaces. My mom moved a lot. I just figured she just loved diversity that much. So so I went to many high school in Westchester County, but primarily I always ended back in Greenburgh. So there it is. Currently, I have a 14-year-old daughter heading to high school next year. Excited about no longer distance learning. So she's my pride and joy and the reason why I live. And just a little, I mean, before entrepreneurship, obviously, like I stated before, went to college, did the college thing. I've been in the pharmacy benefit industry for years. If for those who doesn't know, like insurance, behind the scenes, pharmacy, easy use,
right?
That's that day job thing until the entrepreneur spirit kind of kicked in. As far as hobbies, I love traveling, if you can't tell by my lines of businesses. But most importantly, I love helping people and just trying my best to make a difference in other people's life and just letting them know no one's perfect. We've all been through something and just trying to help, especially young females, overachieve and overcome any hurdles. So.
And that's the part that's the coolest to me. And I mean, I love all the different parts of your company. I just think it's amazing when you were sharing it all with us, the Founders Live the other night at the Red Rex event. And it was super cool. And I was really into it. And, but I love what you're doing for young women, helping them to become entrepreneurs and helping them to exceed, to excel. And it's really cool. Also, Minnesota, and I know you know this, but Minnesota's got the largest Liberian community in the country. Right?
Yes, we do. And amongst everything, I also serve as the program director for the Liberian Business Association in the diaspora. So I get to help a lot of Liberian businesses and African minority businesses brand themselves, thrive, give them technical assistance, just help them set up themselves for success. Those that are successful, mainly networking and providing resources to them. I mean, I don't talk about that a lot, but that's actually very much an everyday part of my life. So,
what's interesting is how you took your education and you're using it in so many different ways now. And, it's interesting because you made it all seem so easy and so whimsical. Like, well, I lived here, and I lived there, I did the college thing, and and you're really underselling just all the things you've accomplished. It's really pretty cool. Like all the things you've done with your degree and the amount of people you've helped with your degree. And I'd love to get into that in a second. Well, actually, why don't we talk a little bit about what it was like trying to get your company running, trying to get it off and running, trying to get it to get to that next level, trying to get people's attention, and what the idea is behind the company, what drives the company.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's where the true integrity and strength of the brand comes from. So I tend to and I know people will say, oh, you're creative, you're innovative, but it's just something probably I overlooked for a very long time. But I tend to try to find solutions that can either work for myself or my family members or people I know within my community. At first, I never really thought that it would grow into all these different ideas. So long story short, I know my brother is probably like, you know what, I'm like it's a part of everything. But my father died during the Ebola crisis in Liberia. And I have two younger brothers with my father. The youngest brother with my father is the one who actually grew up with him. And he was actually taking care of my father. Now, mind you, let me just be very clear. My father did not die of Ebola. He just died because he had psoriasis and he did not get access to his medication or a good healthcare system. So that piece with the weak healthcare system that's there currently, it all kind of muffled together, right? So dad died and
you didn't need to lose your dad. You lost your dad because of the poor healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to be extremely candid, that's just it. And so that's why I do other projects as well. But my brother now, I got to take care of him, right? At the time, he was like 16, right? So like a little over 16, but long story short, he's hungry all the time. And what we do here is not just Liberia, it's not even just Africans, it's all other countries outside of the US pretty much. We Western Union wire money via MoneyGram for needs, whether it's education, whether it's food, whether it's hospital bills, But all of a sudden, I'm like on Facebook and I'm looking, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a new outfit on every week." But yeah, it's like, I'm like, wait a minute, something's off here.
So he's calling you saying, "I'm starving. Can you send some more money? I'm grown boy. I need to eat."
All the time.
Yeah.
And then you go on his Facebook and he's in his new kicks and some cool new clothes.
Got an arm on the trail for. Okay, so I mean, I know he's using some of it for food, but he doesn't need that much money for food or everything he needs. So I just sitting on my couch. And a friend of mine, and I'm like, I got to figure out a way to get the food there instead of the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, literally, I should create a website where people can go in and put their information. But even though there's no addresses, we'll do delivery locations by landmarks. As long as we have their phone number, we can do it. That's literally how this all started. And then I called my cousin who was on ground. He's like, yeah, we could do this, cuz. And then he's like going to stores and warehouses, getting contract, got a developer, put a custom database together. And that's how, at the time, it was Afri Market. So that's how Afri Market came. We delivered next day within 48 to 72 hours.
Wow.
I have to say, we not one day missed a delivery. Wow. We made sure we got everything to our customers. And once larger companies, which obviously I can't say their name.
Right.
It was a larger company with a lot of money.
Who liked the prototype that you developed.
Literally copied on. And now there's probably like 10 of them like in Liberia. Across Africa right now. Yeah. So, and I know I was the first in the sense because I researched because I was trying to find a solution for myself quickly and there wasn't one there. So I invented it. Now,
that's fantastic. So you figure out a way to get food to those in need. And then somewhere along the way, you're like, okay, so we're getting things that people need back home to them, but we've got all this beautiful like clothing that we make and all these things. How do we get that here so they can sustain themselves? And that kind of bred the next phase, right?
Yep, of Afrimar. So Originally, Afri Market was supposed to service all of the one line of business in one place going into the continent or really going into Liberia. But then looking at from an ROI perspective, job creativity, I said, let's flip it. So when we flipped it, now we have what we have today. So AfriMart, well, let me rewind really quick. 2020 COVID, right before COVID, and I tell you right now, I didn't know there was going to be a pandemic, but we decided to flip it and just make the online grocery store partner with got our delivery service through FedEx for people living in the diaspora. We're like, oh well, not everyone lives close to an African store, so those that don't, we can supply them. So that's what we started doing with COVID. But in the process of that, I started researching the products that we sold here, and over 90% wasn't made in Africa, owned by Africans, grown in Africa, but is marketed as a prototype of what we do, tastes similar, and to be honest with you, and to be honest with you, what really upset me was I looked into a lot of these companies and they didn't have any like little foundations. They weren't helping entrepreneurs. They weren't giving back to the market, the $1 billion with a B market that they were taken out of. So
they're appropriating your culture, but not really using your foods, not using your clothes, just taking your culture, making money on it, and then not having any foundations that support people back in Africa and the many countries, over there. They just profited from it, and it really wasn't African made at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Right, and that's why when we go home and we travel, it was like, oh my gosh, the food tastes so different because it does. It's a reason why.
Yeah.
So I just decided that we would just go ahead, and I got pissed, so I shut the whole website down. I literally did that. I'm like, I'm not doing anything with AfriMart until one, I create my own product, which is the ginger beer. We'll get into that, and the pepper soup, and then I'll give other vendors, especially food and vendors and farmers, a platform to have that global process. I'll, at a very, very low cost, market their goods, showcase it, and help facilitate export off the continent into the U.S. market.
That's fantastic. So basically, it all started to solve a problem, and then it started to grow. Then you went up against the big companies. You had to fight that battle and win. And then you started looking at companies that were exporting into America products that weren't African at all. They had nothing to do with the Liberian culture, nothing to do with any other countries over there. Just, was stealing the identity, but not really. It had nothing to do with it. And they weren't feeding back to your community. So then you just started to feed. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my Siri kicked on or something. So then you guys started to, actually take products that are made, foods that are made in your communities, and then you create a conduit to get them here into America where they can be sold, profits can be sent back home. That's a lot. It's a big hill to climb. It is. And a lot of doors to open.
Right. And that's the phase that we're in right now. So the idea is out there. People know about our brand, and we can do this. I've met with vendors, and vendors have been sent to me through mutual connections.
I don't know what's happening here. My Siri's kicking on, and I have no idea why. I'm so sorry.
We'll let Dave do that, and I can take over for a bit, Tashie. But you were just saying, so you've made some connections now to do exactly that distribution phase of what you need to be able to do.
Correct. But the thing about it is that, it sounds easy to people, but it's not. And because AfriMart is not the only line of business. We have the tourism directory for Africa, which is AfriTour. It does the same thing, but just for tourism. And then there's the AfriPay, where we use for educational payment directly from here. But for me, it sounds easy. And a lot of people say, oh yeah, I can. I've been through a lot personally to even reach this point. Right now, I'm exactly 2 months of my second knee surgery. 3 years ago, I was on a plane going to New York, taking my kid for Christmas to see her dad. And by the time I got off the plane, my knee was this big.
Wow.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
couldn't walk, didn't know what was going on, tried to toughen through it, but it was so bad that I was stuck in a hotel room, had to turn around and come back with my then boyfriend. So he was also living in New York. So he came back with us and my kid and went straight to Methodist, the ER, and they were like, "Oh no!" I said, "No, you got to give me an MRI. Something's wrong." Long story short, I discovered that I had a rare disease called lymphoma operescens, where tumors grow in your knee grove.
Wow.
Oh man, ouch.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
obviously U of M, take it out, and all of that. In the process of them taking out the tumors, which were benign, we found out that I have advanced arthritis. So literally, I have the knees of like a 60-year-old woman.
Oh
Wow.
man.
I really
So
wear heels now. I'm trying to
yes.
preserve my knee, but
Right.
like,
So
go ahead.
no, I'm saying so you're overcoming physical issues while you're trying to get this thing launched. And when you start talking about customs, my head just spins.
Oh, you don't
Like
even
it hurts
go there.
thinking about the issues trying to do that.
It's customs. First of all, Africa is viewed as a risky market already. And there's a real need for transparency and trust building when you're doing this. What most people don't know, you just don't put stuff on a container and ship it here. So
Right.
you have to make sure that all of your vendors that you're facilitating trade for abide by the FDA guidelines. Insurance is extremely expensive, and you are packaging and loading these containers to ensure that everything on that list is exactly what's on that list. Because what will happen is you'll get to the port here, and if one thing is off, they'll toss the entire container. Now you lose not only your money, but your vendor's money. So the hardest part of this, the exporting business, is ensuring that your products are compliant with all the regulations.
So you really have to vet and instill in your vendors that, listen, we're here to help you, but you've got to do it exactly right, or we're both going to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can't help you win if and that's hard to communicate that. It's hard to, and then just the paperwork shuffle. I know people that have worked in that industry, and it's a colossal nightmare. And they've got a staff of people doing it, and you're trying to do it by yourself with a watermelon knee, with a humongous, giant basketball knee.
No, so this
not cool.
Right? I have some help. I do have a small team, and then there's a lot of independent contractors that just do a specific job at the time. So like your broker, your exporter, you just have that one relationship with the person, and they serve that. So they're not like an actual part of your team. They're strategic partners to make sure that you can facilitate your business, and you always have a backup. You can't stick with one person. Most importantly, your broker is key. So the broker is the person who now in the United States have to vouch and validate everything and help you, quote unquote, what we call free in the industry, your container. Then you have a puller, which is a trucker, who then pulls it from the East Coast into Minnesota. Now I have to have a warehouse that I distribute.
So then distribution from there. It's a lot. It's a lot of pieces. So tell me a little bit, because I know we're getting somewhat short on time, but this is the part that really has my heart. And tell me a little bit about what you're doing for the women back home in Liberia to help them become entrepreneurs themselves.
No, thank you for asking me that. So Afri Thrive is our program, our nonprofit program, which encourages young women, not only we hope to expand outside of Liberia one day, but piloting in Liberia where we have young women ages 17 to 29. Our goal is to foster and empower them to have confidence and become entrepreneurs through like earning vocational skills. So we have strategic partners. Some are vocational schools, some are business technical assistant programs development, but mainly we were able to partner with an organization called Mercy Corp, where they were able to give us a space for 50 young women they would then come in, give them the business training and the tools they need. We at AFRI help them facilitate and draw out their business plan. We monitor for them. There's a 2 weeks training, and then we monitor them for 6 months after that, after they get their seed money, to now like give reporting back to Mercy Corp, and for our supporters and donors as well, anyone that want to contribute.
Sure.
This is what we've done. This is how they're doing. And unfortunately, right now, out of nowhere, I was supposed to go in July. Out of nowhere, the third wave of COVID has hit Liberia so bad right now. And
oh, really?
Yes, yes. It has hit Liberia. We're losing people left and right every day at the moment. So right before even talking to you, I am AFRI Thrive, because we do other programs too, which we were intending on having like a preventative care pop-up clinic in July. We are now moving that into a COVID rapid testing and vaccine clinic. So I partner with the mobile clinic there and some of the districts and organizations. And right now I'm begging people literally for PPE, supplies, vaccines, rapid testing. So the mobile clinic will go from community to community, and we'll get data. Obviously, we make sure all of our information is correct and make sure that we can get people populated, at least those over 18 vaccinated. And I'll tell you straight up, I cannot lie about this. I'm not a vaccine person. And I was adamant about not taking the vaccine. But sometimes, I guess, when things hit you differently, you're like, I'm going to get the vaccine, because I know that's the only thing right now that we can do to put preventative measures in. So I will hate for anyone to see them be like, well, Tashie's a hypocrite. No, I'll be the first to tell you. I was like, I don't know, it's a little early. I have my reservations, but it is necessary to do.
I was going to ask. Oh, sorry, Dave. I was going to ask Tashie real quick. That's a great example, though, of a pivot, right? Like, it sounds like the entire time you've been working on this company, you've been very open to pivoting or making changes as things have come up in the business environment that you can't control, or the world. I know there's a lot of other people out there struggling to say, you know, what did it take to make the leap? How did you finally decide to do this and really push forward? You know, you have a lot going on. Is there any advice you would give to listeners out there who are like, wow, Tashie really is making this happen. She's open to these pivots. What advice would you give to other people saying, I'd love to be able to do it, but I just haven't made the leap yet to be an entrepreneur or to do these things?
Oh, no, that's a great question, because I feel like if you're not ready to take risks, you're never going to succeed, even within your personal career, right? Say you work for a company and you know you're capable of that promotion, but you're just like, I just want to sit in my comfort zone. If you don't apply for it, you're never going to get it, right? So the concept is as simple as that. However, I don't want people to sit here and think like I just had this perfect life growing up. No, back to the story of coming back with that ex-boyfriend. And that's something that has haunted me for a while. And literally, I was in a situation where it started out with like the controlling and the emotional abuse. It then led into, he hit me one time. This is not going to happen again. We're fine, right? A couple of weeks later, he literally beat me on and off for 13 hours straight.
Wow.
And even today, I look at my face. You may not notice it. Most people probably don't. But my mouth is crooked. When you look at this and you watch me talk, you will see that my mouth is a little crooked. And the good thing is my daughter was not there at the time. And I never talked about this publicly until then. To be honest, I told Jenn about it. I've even showed her my pictures of my face. But I had to let go of that. And in order to be able to move forward and thrive, you have to let go of certain things that are, heavy on you. I had to forgive him. That was probably one of the hardest things I know. It's probably like, I had to forgive him in order to excel. In my culture, they always say, let sleeping dog lie, meaning if something happened, is in the past, don't talk about it, leave it alone. But then you never get to deal with it emotionally. And I have a daughter to raise that I'm raising. So I had to let go. I had to verbally talk about this.
Mhm.
I don't hate that person. I mean, even after that, he stalked me, he harassed me, he tried to, but I don't hate him. And I know people are going to say, I don't have any desire to interact with him, but I had to let go of that pain and suffering and health and stop blaming myself. Like, okay, it had to be something that I did, or trying to fall back into this. So the strongest thing I could have done, and mind you, after that process, he held me hostage in my house for 3 weeks until my bruises started to clear up, so that no one could see me. And
so it
was an ongoing fight. I defended myself too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, I'm not gonna just sit like, but it was a lot. It was a lot.
Tashie, you are. Ooh, I'm echoing now, but you are an amazing. Am I echoing on your side too?
You are. There's something wrong with your earphone, Dave. I was going to ask you until we fix that.
I'm going to do this. No, I'm going to do this real quick.
Okay. Tashie, how did you approach that after the incident happened? Like, I mean, obviously, that's very traumatic. Now knowing what you know, is there any advice or things you would recommend to people that go through a similar experience? Because I think sometimes we suffer silently and by ourselves, where we're like, I'm strong. I don't want to talk to anyone about this. I don't want anyone to know. I don't want to be vulnerable in that. What would you recommend now after you've gone through that and, being willing and vulnerable enough to talk about it now? Is there any advice for women who maybe have had this happen that don't know what to do?
Honestly, I just, it's never a one-time thing. That's the thing. It's never, even emotional abuse is never a one-time thing. Nobody's gonna love you like yourself. And as scary and hard as it's gonna be, even if it's one person that you can find as a support system to trust them and let them help you get the help that you can get to heal yourself. Because at the end of the day, the abuser or the person, trust me, they're living their life. That's what they do, and they're gonna get past that a whole lot faster than you are and keep it moving. You have to definitely, look at, it's gonna be hard. That's the one thing I want people to know. It's not easy at all, but get up and find somebody that you can trust, or call, even if you don't trust someone in your family. Because I mean, it was at a point where all of my close family were removed from me because they saw this coming, and I didn't see it coming. Okay. I was just so much, my dad had died. I just needed that replacement so bad. And just in general, in love. And I felt like I was looking for some type of replacement from my dad so bad that I often went into relationships with that. Probably, if in hindsight, I would have known this is not going to work out. And this is someone I've known throughout my whole life. I've known him we went to junior high school together, high school together. Yeah. So this is not like
stranger.
I didn't just meet this guy.
It's something you've been familiar with forever. Yeah.
I was like, oh, we reconnected, Facebook. Oh, wow. Maybe this was meant to be. And God, no.
I got to tell you, you are one of the strongest women I've met. I mean, you lose your father. You support your younger brothers. You went through that horrific. I mean, you were abused to an awful degree, and held against your will. You were basically kidnapped.
I was kidnapped. I was literally kidnapped.
Yeah, and
mind you, remember I told you this is before my first surgery, so I'm still struggling with my knee issue. This is so this is all between the December and March time frame.
Oh my gosh.
Happened. But, like I said, forgiveness is key. And I know people, I'm not the person that sings in the church choir, but I have a really good relationship, I feel, with God. I've devoted myself to basically trusting God and not worrying about it. If something happens, I pray about it and I let it go. And once I've been able to accept that fact, I've been watching God just, navigate.
Work within you. Look
Work
at
within me. And it's like,
look at the shining star you are. Look at what you've done, not only for yourself, but for others. Like
it's all about
many others. It's just like,
and
it's.
And this is why Afri Thrive exists, because a lot of these young girls, by the way, my first trip back to Liberia, I literally went back into my hotel room after 2 days and just cried.
Mm.
There's not a lot of opportunity out there. You're not, everything is not like how we have free education here. You can go to high school, access to technology in the sense of access to data to be able to really educate yourself is extremely limited. And a lot of these girls have to sell themselves, their bodies. They're constantly being abused. Or if they do go to school, they have to come and go sell what they call your market, get their daily bread, whatever food product or something that they're selling. I mean, they're in the street. They don't have the opportunity. If I had the support, the financial backing to literally open up an entrepreneurial school of business or something, I would do that. I mean, I would get like top-notch educators and facilitate that, because women need it, not just in Africa, all over the world. We need to know that we
empowerment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a colossal piece of empowerment. You know what I mean? And to be deprived of that is just a horrible thing. I can't even speak to it, to be honest with you. Jen, you should. I mean, it's just like, that. It boggles my mind.
That's all people want, is to be valued, feel like they're being valued, they're being listened to, and you provide opportunity. Not everyone, and that's another thing too, everybody tries to solve for this 100% to make things perfect. That's unrealistic. You have to try at least to solve for like the 80%. Yep. If you can get there, you've done it. You have really done it. Nothing in life is perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but you can't stop. Like, you can't, especially those of us that have young daughters, even young sons that are coming up, is you have to be a strong-minded person. You can hurt on the inside all day long. There's nothing wrong. There's many nights I come in here and I'll go in my room and I break down. But once Mike is off doing her own thing, but I have to stay strong for her, only because when that incident happened, I didn't realize how much it affected me until one day. I don't remember what it was, and she's like, "Oh my God, Mommy, you're smiling."
Oh wow, yeah.
I was like, she's like, "You're smiling again," and
wow,
it just took me, and I said, "Hey, I can't allow this to have control over my life anymore."
No. Tashie, if people want to get in contact with you or get more information, because I'm positive that our listeners have gotten interested in how they can help or support you. We put your website at the bottom here so they can see it, but if you can't see it, it's www.ifrillc.com. So that's www.ifrillc.com, or Tashie at ifrillc.com, right? To contact you?
Yes, to contact me. You can, like Jen said, use the contact us page on our website, or just even info at ifrillc.com will get your communication. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there as Tashie George. I don't really do too well with the other social medias messaging platform, but I tend to look at my LinkedIn a lot. So if you want a quicker response, and plus you can kind of validate people on LinkedIn.
That's awesome.
And
I want to go on record as saying that was not my phone that just went off in the middle of our podcast.
Mine either.
No, not mine either. It's a third party's phone.
Whose phone is it?
Yeah, I don't know. We're connected to so many things. It was probably the Red Rex hotline that went off. So
the bat phone.
Yeah, exactly. And we are committed, Tashie, to you too. I mean, your idea about schools, to helping you with that. So from a Red Rex perspective, we need to build you a digital school that can be accessed all over the world.
I like that.
Bring in your teachers and educators and that those folks, no matter where they are, could get access to exactly what you said, which is, education and quality information and education that they're not getting today from currently.
I would love that because, like I said, I'm someone, don't get me wrong, we all like nice things here and there, right? But I don't need all of that. I don't need that. As long as I can pay my bills and I can eat and my kid is okay, I'm fine. I care more about pouring more into people because, like, for instance, those 50 girls, that's 50 families, 50 brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, daughters, sons. The impact could be endless. So I just want to have the opportunity to just give one, like literally, I feel like if I can get up every day and make a difference in one person's life every day until I die, at least I've done my job.
Amen. Yeah. That's huge. You are an amazing human being.
Thank you.
You have overcome such massive obstacles. You have done so many incredible things to take care of your family and to take care of so many others that you're truly inspiring. And I'm so grateful you came on and shared your story with us today. You opened up parts of you that are very personal. We appreciate that so much. Tashie, you are a gem for sure.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say to my little brother, AB, I'm not trying to put you out there, but you and I both know it's the truth. I love you very much. But I'm just saying.
Disclosure. Yeah.
Disclosure there. Because he's like, really? He read another article. He's like, okay, seriously? I'm like, I don't know what happened.
What's his first name again?
His first name is Abraham. So my dad.
Abraham, you're sassy.
So actually, unique little fun fact, my dad is from Guinea. So I'm Guinean and Liberian, and my dad is Muslim and my mother is Christian. My mom's a pastor and my dad was an imam. So everybody's name is Abraham, named after him. So it's like Abraham Brahim.
You come from an
I'm all mixed up.
Yeah, what a powerful name Abraham is too. That is like, biblically, that is a very powerful name.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man, that is awesome. Well, listen, this is episode 3 of 612 Talk, and we had the great pleasure. Johnny Cash thinks you're awesome too.
Oh, I love me some Johnny.
Oh, yeah, Johnny thinks you're awesome. Jen thinks you're awesome, and I think you're awesome.
I love you guys so much, and I have to say, Jen, thank you so much for the opportunity, and Dave as well. It was a pleasure actually meeting you guys. And
we're gonna help you.
Not just a one-way street, Let me know how I can help too with other stuff, or if I have resources or anything that you need that I can do. Because I believe support is always a two-way street.
Oh yeah, Jen, I love where you're at with getting the education out to these kids. Boy, it's just so key. It's so key to the rebuilding of the community there. It's key to the rebuilding of their lives. It gives them opportunities. They can go on for further, create jobs, and it gives them hope to dream. You know what I mean? And that is hope is so much. Tashie George, y'all. Thank you very much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. You are wonderful. God bless you. Keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you. I'll be praying for healing for you and for all the wonderful things you're doing to help other people. It's just amazing. So,
thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, take care, Tashie. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Till next time.
Till next time on 612 Talk. We'll see you later this week. Bye, Tashie.